Hello YouTube, welcome back to my workbench here with me Matt, and again we have NEM coupling converters, everyone's favourite subject. Anyway, this wagon and another one came in from a customer of mine, and he wanted to put NEM couplings on quite a recognisable wagon. This one is, I think, Hornby Triangle era, and they are still produced today with these enormous D-type couplings on. So I've made some prototypes, and if we turn it round you can see now slightly improved. So this has got a Kadee 19 fitted, and if I move that back slightly I have made these converters. So it is quite a big job, this one, so it's not for the faint-hearted. There's no really easy way around it. As you can see, this coupling here is moulded via two legs, and I can't mount anything to those legs because they just wobble around. It's not very suitable, so we have to cut the old D-type coupling off as well as the legs, remove this pivot for the hook, file that down. You'll want to remove the wheels. They're just the standard wheels, plastic wheels. And this converter sits between these two rails here, so you need to cut this off, level that off, and remove some of the rivet detail on the beams there, so it sits nice and flat. Quite straightforward. These converters are already at the correct height, so you don't need to level it, do whatever you want with it. So it's generally quite straightforward, but you'll take about an hour possibly each to do it. Or to convert a wagon. So we'll get into it and have a look and walk you through how we get on. So here we have our Hornby Wagon. It's quite standard throughout the range now, quite old, as you can tell by the couplings. So what we need to do, I apologise for the poor light in advance, so we need to get rid of the hook and the big D-type coupling. Now turning over, the problem is most of this is moulded into the underframe, so we need as much room as possible, so we need to get rid of these plastic wheels just to give us a bit more working area. They're the standard Hornby plastic wheel. I think these now come with turned metal ones. So what we need to do here is look at a plan of attack. So what we need to do is get rid of this, so we can just clip this off with some cutters. I've got some flush cutters here, so we can just clip that off. This one moulds into the two middle rails here, or on the outer rail of that one, so this needs to be removed completely, then flattened down to the same height as the surrounding bars, and this will create an area where you can fix the new converter to the wagon. So that's a little bit tricky to do and will take time. Also, what we need to do is remove some of the rivet detail, so it provides some nice level place to sort of fix the converter to. So all we need to do really at this moment in time, not cutting the brake blocks off, try not to, just need to cut one end off. You can. So be careful knowing what you're cutting and what you shouldn't be cutting. There we go, that's that gone. So that's removed. You can cut that down a little bit more with a dremel or whatever. So we don't need this bit at all. And you can unclip the hook quite easily by pushing it down, but I can't really be bothered today, so just going to snip it off. Flush cutters, that should, need a little bit more, it should release. There you go. I think flush cutters are the way forward with this one. As you can see, it's not done too bad a job already. That still looks quite smooth. We only need this rail and that rail nice and smooth down, so maybe a sharp knife and a little bit of sanding or filing, or if you have a dremel, that'd be pretty good. Now of course, being injection molded, this will melt when it gets too hot, so do be careful and go with care basically. So I'll just clean this up and I'll report back to you. So you join me back here on the bench, and you can see I've cleaned it up a little bit around this area. While I was cleaning it up and dremeling it away, the other converter fell off, so it just shows you the glue doesn't really take to this plastic. So what I'm going to do is advise on a slightly different glue. So I'm going to use some Araldite, which is a 2-part glue. Now I'm quite happy with how it's cleaned up, so we'll take one converter, you can see here. I'm just going to dab some glue around the area, which I've already mixed, so mix this properly. You need to put it as far forward the converter as possible, so you just want to get some glue on those rails. I'm going to leave it to dry for about 24 hours just to make sure it's all nice and set. Just going to dab the converter in some glue as well on its 2 feet. So I'll just tilt that towards the camera hopefully. There you go, just goes in between the 2 bars there, and again we want it as far forward as possible so it doesn't obstruct anything else. You can see it's, unlike super glue, you can move it around a little bit. I don't really want my finger to pull it off. Let's go and check front. Yeah, that's okay. That one's fallen off as well. Okay, get back down there. So I'm not quite happy with that, but super glue should be okay. But obviously this wagon is fighting back a little bit. Okay, so that's alright now, so it's level. That should look okay. Let's go around to this side. Just make sure this one's level, which it is. Just going to leave it upside down for the night, and then I should come back to it in the morning. Hopefully that's dry and that's holding, and then we'll fit the wheels back on and then some couplings. Alrighty, you join me back here the next day. So the glue has gone off. As I say, I used Araldite, so these are nice and solid now, nice and dry, and as you can see, all straight and level. So best thing to do now is to get the wheels back on, which just simply click in place. Excellent. And back on this side again. Oh, nicely. You may want to put a little bit of light machine oil on the end of them so they roll a little bit better. So you can see just about got enough room behind the pocket so it doesn't interfere with the axle. Now Kadees, for me 18s fit this one quite nicely, so just slot these in. Go, nice and positive click, and in the other end. There we go. So one Kadeed Hornby mineral wagon. So as I said before, important depending on your radius of curves, make sure the flat part is in line with the buffers. Again, as I say, depending on the radius of your curves, if they're tighter then you may want to go to a 19, these are 18 KDs or KD 18s. So that is the basic principle I am working on. So let's check for levels and see if it's correct on the height gauge. Okay, so you join me on the test track. As I always say, the height gauge one, the KD on the height gauge is slightly drooping, which is just getting on a bit now. So we'll just check the height of this wagon and its Kadee. So let's just have a look. That is pretty much spot on. Tiny bit high, but not too much. You can see underneath the hanging down metal piece which activates the uncoupler on a magnet. That is about the right height, and again you can adjust those if required. So just going to pick it up and turn it around and test the other side just to make sure that's also good. And again, perfect. So it may need a little bit more work from most, but at least that is another wagon ticked off the list. When they're available, there will be links in the description below. Any questions, please leave below and I'll get back to you. If you're interested in any of these converters, NEM pockets, please visit the main shop link below, or visit my Facebook page, Vectis 3D Models. Hope you've enjoyed this little walkthrough, and there'll be more in the future, I'm sure. For now, goodbye and happy modelling.